Sophia's heels clicked on the polished hardwood floor of her new apartment as she set down a half-empty teacup on the marble countertop. The chipped rim, once an innocuous flaw, had become her silent testament to Marcus's betrayal. Dark, late-afternoon light filtered through sheer curtains, casting elongated shadows that whispered of secrets and broken promises. She traced the crack with a fingertip, a ritual that both soothed and haunted her. Each day, she left the cup where she could see it, a constant reminder that trust was fragile, easily shattered like porcelain under pressure. A sudden knock shattered the hush. Sophia's pulse quickened as she crossed to the door, hand trembling on the doorknob. Detective Olusegun stood in the hallway. His crisp uniform sharply contrasted against the muted tones of her living room. "Ms. Adeyemi?" he asked, voice low but insistent. She nodded, her heart beating a staccato rhythm. He pressed an envelope into her hand, cream-colored, sealed with dark wax. "This arrived for you." She hesitated, reading the scrawl. "Sophia Adeyemi." With trembling fingers she broke the seal and withdrew a single sheet. Claudia's confession, hand-scrawled in shaky loops. Below, Marcus's prison number stared back at her. Sophia's breath caught. Claudia, the other woman, the victim-turned-accomplice, had bled her secrets onto this paper. Detective Olusegun's eyes were steady. Claudia testified against him. This is her final statement. You might want to read it carefully. He gave her a thin folder brimming with court records and photographs. Stark images of medical files, bruised arms, a half-empty teapot. Sophia sank onto a velvet armchair, the confession trembling in her lap. Every word stung. Marcus's calculated cruelty, the clandestine poisoning, the cold indifference as her body convulsed. Yet in Claudia's apology, her confession of remorse, Sophia sensed a kinship born of shared trauma. She was no longer isolated in her pain. Olusegun gave her a moment before gently asking, "How are you feeling?" She lifted her chin, determination hardening her features. "I'm changing," she said, voice soft but fierce. "No longer a victim." The detective nodded, respect flickering in his eyes. Sophia rose, paper crumpling in her fist. She paced to the window, looking out at the sprawling city below. The world had shifted under her feet. Betrayal had sparked a fire within her. She stared down at the teacup on the counter and whispered, "This ends now." The camera, her own internal lens, zoomed in on her determined profile against the fading light. Echoes of betrayal faded, replaced by the promise of her own justice journey. The next morning, a black courier package arrived at Sophia's door. No return address. She sliced through the tape to reveal a velvet-lined box. Her breath hitched. Inside lay the chipped porcelain mug. Familiar, intimate, weaponized. Beneath it, a folded note in Marcus's precise handwriting read, "You think you won, but the real game begins." Her pulse thundered. Images flooded back. Marcus's first wife collapsing at breakfast, the housemaid's fearful eyes, the hush money to keep them quiet. The chipped mug had been his signature, the vessel of his deceit. Now it sat before her like a challenge. Sophia's hands shook as she lifted it, feeling the weight of every shattered promise. She retreated to her writing desk, the mug perched at its edge. Beside her lay a leather-bound journal. Sophia opened to a fresh page and stared at the blank expanse. Her reflection in the window fractured, survivor and victim entwined. With a steadying breath, she dipped her pen and wrote the title in bold strokes, "Tea Leaves and Bloodlines." Memories spilled onto the parchment. She catalogued each poisoned sip, the sweetness laced with scopolamine, the dizziness that robbed her of memory, the frantic hospital visits. Each entry sharpened her resolve. Tea had once been a comfort. Now it was a weapon. But her story could become a shield. A soft chime on her laptop announced a new email. Alice, her best friend and hacker extraordinaire, had sent coordinates and login credentials. "Meet me online. I have something big." The cursor blinked impatiently. Sophia closed the journal and typed, "I'm in." She paused, staring at the chipped mug once more. Its flaws now symbolized more than broken porcelain. They embodied reclaimed power. Sophia breathed deeply and whispered, "Let the real game begin." Late afternoon sunlight filtered through the iron bars of the prison gate as Sophia followed Detective Olusegun up the walkway. Claudia stood waiting, her once confident posture now slumped in contrition. The humid air carried the scent of concrete and regret. Claudia's dark eyes brimmed with remorse as she met Sophia's gaze. "I'm sorry," she whispered, voice cracking. "I never imagined the scope of what Marcus was planning. I thought it was just insurance." Sophia's heart, once icy with anger, softened. "You testified. You did right." Her words were gentle yet firm. Claudia swallowed. "His father, Lord Blackwell, has allies. They're powerful. If they decide to discredit me, they can make it look like I planted evidence." Olusegun cleared his throat. "Ms. Adeyemi, Ms. Hayes has requested you consider additional safety measures." He slid a card across. "Private Protection Service contact." Sophia pocketed it. No longer just a personal fight. It was against a legacy of corruption. Claudia clasped Sophia's hand. "You're not in this alone." Sophia nodded, the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. She glanced skyward as a flock of pigeons erupted overhead, symbols of freedom she ached to reclaim. Back in her car, Sophia dialed Alice. The line clicked. "What did you find?" Alice's playful tone was replaced by seriousness. "Marcus's corporate accounts are a goldmine. Offshore funds to labs experimenting on unwilling subjects. I pulled some files, financial trails, video logs." Sophia's breath caught. "On my way." She ended the call. Olusegun glanced at her, eyebrows raised. She forced a smile. "We've just leveled the battlefield." In a dimly lit room filled with humming servers, Alice's fingers flew across the keyboard. Lines of code scrolled on 3 monitors. Encrypted folders, hidden partitions, financial ledgers stained with illicit transfers. Sophia perched on a stool, heart hammering. "Here," Alice said, stopping the feed on a grainy video. It showed Lord Blackwell in a boardroom lit by oppressive chandeliers, nodding as lab technicians discussed testing protocols. A brimming glass of scopolamine loomed on the table. Sophia's jaw clenched. "We need this public." Alice's eyes flicked to her. "I've encrypted it. But to leak it safely, we need to route through multiple proxies, make it untraceable." She hammered keys. "Uploading to secure server now." A progress bar appeared. "File upload 0%. Detective Olusegun's phone buzzed. "Incoming threat alert. Suspicious login attempts detected." He frowned. "They're on to us." Sophia tightened her grip on the stool. "Keep working. I'll handle distractions." She strode from the room, phone pressed to her ear as she dialed her PR contact, Miranda. "Get ready for a press drop. I want headlines screaming, 'Blackwell Empire exposed.'" Back in the server room, Alice's bar inched upward. 3367. Almost there. Red lights blinked on the console. Firewall breach, possible trace. Alice's face paled. They routed through the wrong node. Sophia burst back in, breathless. "Move the data to my burner drive. Disconnect now." Papers slid across desks as Alice yanked out cables. The progress bar stalled at 99%. "Got it!" Alice shouted, transferring the last kilobytes. The bar blinked 100%, then vanished. Sophia exhaled, tension easing. On the central screen, a single message blinked. "Mission complete." She allowed herself a triumphant smile. Justice's first salvo had been fired. The grand ballroom of Blackwell Towers shimmered with crystal chandeliers and elegantly clad guests. Sophia, under the guise of Veronica Baines, slipped past silent alarms and discreet cameras. Her gown, midnight blue velvet, hugged her silhouette as she moved through clusters of socialites, each word carefully chosen, each gesture a calculated maneuver. She approached Lord Blackwell's inner circle, laughter and champagne flutes masking the rot beneath the opulence. Leaning close to a board member, she murmured, "I admire your philanthropic work. Have you considered supporting ethics in biotech?" Her voice was velvet, but her eyes burned with hidden purpose. A hand brushed her arm. Detective Olusegun in plain clothes. He nodded subtly. They were clear. Sophia slipped recording devices into the pocket of her evening clutch. Each device was a time bomb set to capture confession and complicity alike. Across the room, Lord Blackwell's gaze flicked in her direction. His silvery hair and tailored suit lent an air of unassailable authority. Sophia met his stare and offered a polite smile. He raised his glass, an unspoken challenge. Clutching her champagne flute, Sophia circled to the bar. The bartender polished a crystal flute as she leaned forward. "Champagne, please," she said. He poured, and she coolly slipped a miniature transmitter into the base. Suddenly, a whispered voice slid into her ear. "They know you're here." Sophia's chest tightened. She pivoted to Olusegun, whose lips were sealed but his eyes blazed urgency. The chandelier's light refracted across her jeweled earrings, casting prismatic reflections on the marble floor. Sophia lifted her glass to her lips, the fine bubbles tickling her senses. In that moment, time slowed. Betrayal had always been brewed in secrecy, and now she was ready to sip the truth from the darkest cup. She took a measured sip, feeling the weight of every watched eye upon her. Behind her, a soft click. A hidden camera captured every heartbeat, every glance. The recording devices hummed to life. As the gala's music swelled, Sophia's lips curved into a silent promise. She would expose every shadow in that gilded room. And with that, the real game began. The moon hung low over the industrial outskirts, a pale spectator to the grim warehouse looming ahead. Sophia crouched behind a stack of rusted barrels, Detective Olusegun's voice crackling in her earpiece. "2 guards at the side entrance," he whispered. "They rotate every 10 minutes. She pressed a slender black device against the corrugated metal wall, a mini-jammer to choke off security cameras. Through her night vision goggles, the scene glowed in eerie green. 2 uniformed guards chatting by a grimy door, their rifles slung casually over broad shoulders. "Ready," Sophia exhaled. Olusegun's voice was a steady anchor. "On your mark." She slipped silently to the door, sliding a custom lockpick into its keyhole. Faint click, and the bolt retracted. She eased it open, barely a whisper, then signaled Olusegun. Together they slipped inside. The warehouse interior was a vast cavern of shadows. Rows of steel cages lined the far wall, their contents muffled cries and whimpers. The scent of antiseptic clashed with the metallic tang of spilled chemicals. Sophia's heart pounded as her flashlight beam skated across glass vials labeled scopolamine and Control Group A. In the center, a long stainless steel table held surgical tools, their edges glinting like captive stars. Olusegun approached the nearest cage. "Ms. Adeyemi, look." Inside, a frail man, pale and trembling, pressed his gaunt face against the bars. His dark eyes burned with relief. "Help, please," he rasped. Sophia's chest tightened. "We're getting you out." She glanced at the ceiling. Motion sensors blinked red at intervals. Time was a luxury they didn't have. She downloaded photos of the cages, the vials, the medical logs on a secure drive. Each image was a stark indictment. The murmur of boots on metal stairs jolted them. "Incoming," Olusegun warned. Sophia's breath caught. She jiggled the lock of the nearest cage, then spun the handle. The door swung open with a tortured creak, and the man stumbled free. She supported him gently. "Go, go!" Alarms blared as guards flooded the room, rifles raised. Sophia sprinted to the next cage, ripping open the latch. Olusegun subdued a guard with a swift elbow. "Down!" he barked. Sophia helped the woman inside that cell, a young lab technician, tears streaking her cheeks. "I'm Sophia Adeyemi," she whispered. "We're here to stop this." Beneath the technician's gasp, hope flickered into her eyes. the air filled with shouts and echoing gunfire. Sophia and Olusegun herded their small band toward a side exit revealed in Alice's hacked blueprints. Sophia paused to scoop up the secure drive, heart hammering. "Hold on," she urged the freed captives, guiding them through a narrow corridor. The glow of flashlights bobbed behind them as scientists in lab coats chased. They burst into the humid night, alarms wailing behind. The freed captives hurried toward unmarked vans parked in a concealed alcove, an ambulance on borrowed time. Sophia climbed in last, handing the drive to a paramedic. Detective Olusegun counted heads. All 9 survivors were accounted for. He high-fived Sophia's shoulder. Sophia stared back at the warehouse as it receded, its dark secrets now laid bare. Inside, experiments ceased, evidence in hand, and lives rescued. She breathed deeply, tasting the cool night air. "This is just Act 1, she said, voice trembling with equal parts fear and exhilaration. Olusegun nodded. "The world needs to see what happened here." As the van pulled away, Sophia caught sight of a single stray guard at the warehouse door, phone raised, snapping a photo of the fleeing group. Her jaw clenched. The mole within the system had already begun his betrayal. Sophia's pulse throbbed as she entered the bustling newsroom of the Vanguard. Reporters clustered around screens streaming rolling headlines. Blackwell Lab expose, victims freed, scopolamine scandal rocks elite. Red ticker text scrolled beneath. Sources, former victims to testify. The room buzzed like an engine primed to roar. She and Alice stood before Miranda Royce, the paper's veteran editor. Miranda's steel-gray hair was pulled into a tight bun. Her gaze appraised the evidence drive. "Let's see what you've got, Ms. Adeyemi." Sophia slipped the drive into a reader. Files unfurled on the main monitor. Grainy videos of test subjects convulsing, spreadsheets of illicit fund transfers, email chains linking Lord Blackwell's office to clandestine shipments. Alice leaned forward. "And these are authenticated chain of custody logs from the warehouse raid." She tapped the screen, bringing up a shaky smartphone recording of guards dragging cages, captured by a hidden camera. Gasps rippled through the assembled journalists. Cameras clicked, pens flew across notebooks. Miranda's lips curved into a rare smile. "This is dynamite." She turned to the bullpen. "Everyone, we're going live with this in 10 minutes. Get quotes, eyewitness accounts, reactions from the Blackwell PR team." Reporters dispersed to fetch sound bites and frantic tweets from pro-Blackwell influencers. Sophia climbed onto a raised dais, a single spotlight from a cameraman's rig illuminating her face. Microphones from rival networks formed a metallic fan before her. She adjusted her composure as Alice whispered, "You ready?" Sophia nodded. Clearing her throat, she spoke. "What we uncovered at Thoracic Labs is a systemic abuse of power, a legacy of corruption that turns human beings into test subjects for profit. These documents and videos are proof that Lord Blackwell's empire has no moral compass." Her voice echoed in the cavernous space, unwavering. She clicked a remote. The projector displayed a montage. Pale faces behind bars, lab notebooks stained with inhumane annotations, ledger entries totaling millions laundered through shell companies. Shouts erupted from the press pit. Journalists yelled questions. Cameramen jockeyed for closer angles. TV crews broadcast live. "Victims speak out. Justice at hand?" Sophia fielded a flurry of queries. "Will Lord Blackwell be held accountable?" she replied calmly. "He must be. Power without accountability is tyranny." But from the corner of her eye, she spotted a dark-suited figure leaning against a pillar, smartphone raised. The flash of betrayal glinted in his hand. Darren, Alice's assistant. His lens captured every frame of Sophia's triumph. A cold knot formed in her stomach. After the press conference, Miranda approached. "You've set the city ablaze," she said. "Front page tomorrow with your photo in 12-point bold." Sophia forced a grateful smile. "Thank you." Behind Miranda, the mole slipped away into the throng. Sophia's blood ran cold. Her greatest ally had already become her most dangerous threat. Alice caught Sophia's arm. "We need to identify the mole fast." Sophia nodded, eyes steeled. No more secrets. Sophia's apartment had become a war room. Laptops, notebooks, and surveillance feeds cluttered every surface. Alice scrolled through security footage from the raid and press conference. "Here," she said, pausing on a frame of Darren's reflection in a glass pane behind the dais. "Zoom in." The pixelated image bloomed into recognition. Darren's angular jaw, nervous shifting in Brooks Brothers' suit. "Of course," Sophia muttered. "He's Alice's assistant. Who'd suspect him?" Alice punched keys. "I'm tracing his network logs now." He routed data copies to an unknown server. Meanwhile, Olusegun knocked and entered, his face grave. "We have confirmation. Darren was seen at the warehouse pre-raid, wearing a lab technician's jacket." Sophia swallowed. "Set up," she whispered. "He planted a backdoor for them to monitor us." Olusegun nodded. "He's being blackmailed. His sister's job at the lab is on the line. They threatened her if he didn't comply." Rage and pity warred in Sophia's chest. She grabbed her coat. "I'll confront him." Alice frowned. "Public parks are dangerous. We should arrange protective custody." Sophia shook her head. "I need to see his face-to-face guilt." Under a street lamp's jaundiced glow, they waited on a deserted bench in Freedom Park. Darren approached, shoulders hunched, phone clutched like a lifeline. Sophia stood. "Why, Darren?" Her voice was soft but piercing. He froze. "You don't understand," he stammered. "They had my sister, Ms. Adeyemi. They said if I didn't feed them intel, she'd be silenced forever." His eyes glistened. "I tried to delete the files, but they watched my every move." Sophia's anger trembled into sorrow. "You should have come to me." He shook his head, tears rolling down. "I was scared. I thought you'd send me away." Olusegun stepped forward, hand on his shoulder. "We can protect your sister. Turn state's evidence. You'll testify." Darren swallowed, finally nodding. Alice exhaled in relief. "We'll get the warrant for your plea deal." Sophia placed a steady hand on Darren's trembling arm. "Redemption is possible. We'll make sure of it." As they walked back under the rustling canopy of trees, Sophia felt the fragile threads of trust reknit. But shadows lingered. How many more hidden traitors waited in the wings? Courtroom 309 was silent as Sophia took the stand, Detective Olusegun beside her. The gallery brimmed with journalists, activists, and press crews. At the defense table, Lord Blackwell's attorneys sat armored in expensive suits. Blackwell himself remained motionless, gaze fixed ahead. The room's wood-paneled walls absorbed every footstep. Prosecutor Amaka Ilasanmi rose, her voice resonant. "Ms. Adeyemi, you are certain these videos and ledgers are authentic?" Sophia met her gaze steadily. "Yes, I was there." She clicked a tablet. The courtroom monitor sprang to life with footage of the warehouse raid. Cages, vials, starving bodies. Gasps echoed. Amaka advanced digital documents. Financial transfers, offshore accounts, timelines linking Blackwell's firm to the lab's expansion. Each number was a nail in the coffin. "And this is the email from Darren confessing his involvement?" she asked. Sophia nodded. "He was coerced but has since agreed to testify fully." The defense attorney, a silver-haired man named Equim, rose. "Ms. Adeyemi, isn't it true you held a personal vendetta against my client for your own poisoning?" His tone was sharp. Sophia inhaled. "I was poisoned by Marcus, your client's son. But this isn't personal. It's a matter of public safety and justice." Queem's lips curled. "Is it possible you planted evidence?" Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Sophia held her ground. The evidence was collected by law enforcement. Photos, videos, and recovered documents. Chain of custody is unbroken. She clicked again. Photos of Olusegun's team assembling the evidence. lab techs tagging vials, chain of custody forms signed on location. The judge leaned forward, interest evident. On cross-examination, Akeem pivoted. Detective Olusegun, would you say Ms. Adeyemi has been motivated by revenge? The detective's voice was calm. My duty is to the law, not personal motives. Her testimony and evidence stand on their own merits. Outside, protesters chanted, "Blackwell guilty." Their voices drifted through open windows like a restless tide. Sophia watched from the stand, determination etched on her face. The final defense plea ended with Akeem's impassioned declaration. These accusations are built on circumstantial claims. Amaka rose for closing arguments. Her voice soared as she recapped the horror. Scopolamine experiments laundered millions, coerced testimonies. This empire thrived on secrecy until now. We seek accountability, not vengeance. As she resumed her seat, Sophia met Claudia's gaze in the crowded gallery. Claudia's nod was firm, support unspoken yet unwavering. The judge banged his gavel. Court is adjourned until tomorrow at 9 a.m. for verdict. Sophia exhaled, fingers entwined. Outside, the protest chants crescendoed. Dawn's lavender light seeped through the courthouse's stained glass windows as spectators filed in. Sophia sat in a front-row seat, heart a metronome of hope and dread. Claudia, flanked by Olusegun, offered a tense smile. Alice hovered nearby, clutching her phone to live-stream the moment. The judge entered, robes swishing. Rose. He resumed the bench and peered down. Will the jury foreperson please stand? A man in a crisp business suit stood, voice steady. We, the jury, find the defendants, Lord Blackwell and his associates, guilty on all counts. A gavel strike echoed like thunder. Cameras flashed. Reporters leapt from their seats. Sophia's knees buckled for a moment before Claudia reached out, steadying her. Tears welled in Sophia's eyes as relief and vindication washed over her. She exhaled a shaky laugh. Outside the courthouse, a throng of news crews swarmed. Reporters clamored. Ms. Adeyemi, your reaction? Sophia stepped forward, microphone extended. Shielding her eyes from the morning sun, she offered a composed smile. Justice prevailed today, not just for me but for every silenced victim. This verdict sends a message. No empire is above the law. She spotted Claudia wiping tears, Olusegun nodding in approval, and Alice capturing every second on her phone. But before the cheering crowds, a new notification chimed on Sophia's screen. An unknown number texted, "Congratulations! Now the last piece." Her chest tightened. The final piece, Marcus's prison file. A hidden dossier. The conspiracy might be crumbling, but its roots still ran deep. Sophia folded her phone, resolve hardening. She looked out at the assembled masses, protesters brandishing signs, survivors offering gratitude. Turning away from the limelight, she said under her breath, "This war continues." As the sun rose higher, Sophia's silhouette merged with the columned facade, a survivor reborn, ready to face the final act. The world had witnessed her justice. Now she would unearth the last secret. And when she did, no one would escape the reckoning. Sophia's fingers trembled as she decoded the encrypted link on her phone. The video that loaded showed Marcus, in a dimly lit back room, sliding a thick envelope across a mahogany table to a suited government official. "Necessary contribution," Marcus murmured. The official counted bills, then slipped them into a briefcase stamped, "Confidential." Sophia's blood ran cold. She replayed the clip, the official's face half-shadowed, his eyes flicking nervously. "Marcus's reach goes into the corridors of power," Sophia whispered to Detective Olusegun as she paused the frame. He frowned, tapping his chin. "We need an outlet with credibility and protection." That evening, Sophia met investigative journalist Tariq Abubakar at a discreet cafe. Steam curled from their teacups as Tariq leaned in. "You've got the smoking gun," he said, voice low. "But if we go live, they'll come after us both." Sophia placed the phone on the table. The video looped silently. Tariq's jaw clenched. Over the next hours they mapped a strategy. Tariq's platform would run an exclusive exposé at 8 a.m., with all video evidence embedded and server backups distributed to international news outlets. Sophia's heart pounded. This was the tipping point. At midnight, Sophia's inbox erupted with anonymous threats. "Stop this or you'll disappear." She swallowed bile but texted Tariq. "We proceed." Pulling her jacket tighter, she realized that by exposing Power's rot, she had painted a target on her back. But silence was no longer an option. Tariq's newsroom buzzed like a beehive. Cameras, microphones, and a flurry of producer voices filled the small space. Sophia stood beside Tariq as he addressed a live stream audience of thousands. Behind him a graphic flashed. Operation Blackwell, political corruption unveiled. Tariq began. "Good morning. Today we reveal how private profiteering poisoned not just tea." He paused, eyes flicking to Sophia, "but also democracy itself." He clicked a remote. The Marcus official video played, crisp and damning. Chat windows exploded with stunned reactions. Halfway through, the feed stuttered. Tariq frowned. "We apologize, technical difficulties." Off camera, his producer gestured wildly. "It's sabotage. They've cut our power." Panic rippled. Cameras went dark. Sophia's pulse spiked. Tariq cursed and grabbed his phone. "Switch to mobile hotspot now," he barked. They scrambled. As the stream flickered back, Tariq raised his hand. "The truth cannot be silenced." But in the darkness, Sophia glimpsed uniformed men gathering outside, blocked from view by shuttered blinds. The broadcast resumed, but the brief outage planted doubt among some viewers. Was the footage doctored? Sophia pressed Tariq's arm. "We need proof of interruption. Timestamps, outage logs." He nodded, voice grim. "I'll tweet our raw feed and metadata." As the live stream concluded, Sophia realized that exposing corruption required more than evidence. It demanded unbreakable channels. The real battle was ensuring truth remained untainted. A city-wide blackout swallowed Lagos in inky darkness. Streetlights winked out. Buildings fell silent. Sophia navigated the gridlocked roads, headlights flickering as drivers cursed. She clutched a tactical flashlight, her only guide to Tariq's station. Inside the media building, red emergency lights cast long shadows. Tariq and his team huddled around a generator-powered server bank, frantically rebooting. "We've got seconds before the police, no private security arrive," he muttered. Sophia punched in override codes to reactivate the livestream. Downstairs, boots thundered. Sophia peeked through a door. Helmeted officers stormed the lobby. Orders barked in clipped tones. Her heart pounded. If they seized the servers, all evidence would vanish. She darted back, slamming a metal door shut and jamming it with a chair. Tariq's producer handed her a USB drive. "This has auto-upload scripts. Drops to multiple cloud servers the moment it senses shutdown." Sophia exhaled. "Thank you." Tariq cleared his throat, stepping before the camera. "They can cut power, but they cannot extinguish truth." Behind him, the feed flickered live again, solid this time. Across the city, screens in homes, cafes, and phone apps lit up with the undeterred broadcast. Outside, Sophia heard the crunch of boots on gravel. She grabbed Tariq's arm. "We have to move." They sprinted through maintenance corridors into the night. The blackout had been intended to silence them. Instead, it amplified their reach. By dawn, the blackout footage had gone viral. Streets filled with people chanting, "No more poison. End corruption now." Sophia stood on a balcony overlooking Ojulegba Bridge, a sea of placards waving beneath her. "Blackwell must fall. Justice for all. Truth over power." She turned to Alice, who was uploading real-time updates. "Look at them," Sophia whispered, awe and fear mingling in her chest. "They're rising." Authorities declared a curfew, but the crowd surged on. Armored vehicles rolled in, helmets gleaming in the morning light. Tear gas canisters landed with thuds among protesters. Sophia's phone vibrated. Messages from survivors of the lab, families of victims, stories pouring in. She realized her fight had triggered a collective awakening. At a makeshift press stage, Tariq read off victim testimonies as protesters held speaker systems aloft. Sophia joined him, microphone in hand. "You have shown the power of solidarity," she told the crowd. "Never doubt that truth brings change." Cheers thundered. But as the sun climbed, military helicopters cast long shadows. Sophia ducked beneath an awning with Claudia and Detective Olusegun. Claudia's voice trembled. "They won't stop until we are silenced." Olusegun ground his teeth. "Then we don't relent." Sophia looked over the burgeoning movement and felt a fierce protectiveness. "We fight until the last name is cleared and the last conspirator held accountable." Night fell again, and Lagos obeyed the curfew. Streets deserted, lights dimmed. Sophia, wrapped in a dark coat, crept through narrow alleys with a USB drive secured in her pocket. She wove past soldiers patrolling with rifles slung low, scanners sweeping strangers' faces. At a hidden safe house, amnesty lawyers waited around a lamp-lit table. Sophia placed the drive before them. "This contains unedited files, Blackwell's private memos, courtroom transcripts, encrypted correspondence." A lead lawyer, Amina, nodded gravely. "With this, we file genocide, level charges for involuntary medical experiments." Outside, distant sirens wailed. Sophia held her breath as soldiers' footsteps echoed against corrugated walls. She wiped her fingerprints from the drive and slipped it into a burner laptop. Amina initiated the upload to international courts. Just then, footsteps creaked on the stair, too close. Sophia's pulse raced. "Wrap it up," she hissed. Legal assistants scooped laptops and papers into briefcases. The door burst open. 2 officers, flashlights sweeping. "Amnesty lawyers, step forward." The lawyers raised their hands. Sophia stepped in front, arms raised. "These files are protected under international law." The officers hesitated, glancing at each other. Detective Olusegun emerged from the shadows behind them. He flashed his badge. "This operation is sanctioned by the High Court. Stand down." Relief flooded Sophia. The officers backed away. Once the files were secure online, dawn's first light crept into the alley. Sophia exhaled, shoulders slumping in exhaustion. The curfew had nearly trapped them, but solidarity had prevailed. As she and Olusegun melted into the city's sleepy streets, Sophia realized that justice demanded constant vigilance, even under the cover of darkness. Curfew could halt movement, but it could not extinguish a people's will. The whistle of the late-night wind carried whispers through Sophia's dimly lit apartment as she reviewed the day's headlines. Blackwell Empire crumbles, government officials under investigation, and survivors demand further action. Her phone buzzed, Claudia's name flashing on the screen. "Meet me," the text read, followed by a series of secure coordinates. Sophia navigated the moonlit streets to a discreet community center, where a single lamp illuminated a battered wooden table. Claudia waited, clutching a thick manila folder. Her eyes, once downcast with guilt, now glinted with fierce resolve. "I retrieved these from my father's safe," she began, sliding the folder across. Inside lay private letters, bank statements, and employee dossiers implicating not only Lord Blackwell but also other high-ranking elites. Each document bore her family's coat of arms, proof that corruption ran deeply in her bloodline. Sophia's heart pounded as she leafed through letters from Chancellor Ease to Lord Blackwell discussing mutual favors and political leverage. "I never knew," Claudia whispered, tears pooling. "I thought I was protecting my mother. Instead, I was enabling monsters." Detective Olusegun, standing sentinel by the door, nodded solemnly. "These will bolster our case beyond corporate malfeasance, into political conspiracy." He placed a reassuring hand on Claudia's shoulder. "Thank you for trusting us." Sophia closed the folder and met Claudia's gaze. "We finish this together," she said softly. Claudia exhaled, relief and purpose mingling. In that moment, victim and victimizer became true allies, bound by shared trauma and a mutual vow to dismantle the entire network of corruption. As they sealed the documents into encrypted drives, Sophia realized the fight had evolved. It was no longer just about personal revenge or corporate justice, but about reclaiming an entire system from the shadows. The bonds forged in betrayal now became her strongest allies. Freedom Day dawned bright and clear, the city buzzing with anticipation. Sophia and Claudia arrived at Liberty Plaza, flanked by human rights lawyers, journalists, and survivors wearing bright yellow sashes emblazoned with "Truth Unchained." A makeshift stage had been erected, draped in banners reading "Publish the Blackwell Files" and "No More Poison." Tariq Abubakar took the podium first, his voice amplifying across the plaza. "Today we expose the final pieces of a conspiracy that poisoned bodies and corrupted governments." He gestured to Sophia and Claudia, who stepped forward, each holding up encrypted hard drives. Behind them, giant screens flickered as the drives automatically uploaded file after file to a public server. Bank records, video testimonies, private correspondence. A hush fell over the crowd as names scrolled up. Judges, ministers, generals, each linked to illicit labs or hush money payouts. Murmurs rippled into gasps of outrage. Sophia raised a hand. "This is not vengeance. It is accountability." Her voice carried over the square, unwavering. Amidst the applause, Sophia spotted a tall figure in a tailored suit slipping through the perimeter. Victor Blackwell. His eyes fixed on the stage with a predator's focus. She smiled grimly. The final leak had been unleashed, but new dangers were already emerging. As global news networks picked up the live stream, millions tuned in to watch the downfall of an empire. Social media hashtags exploded. Hashtag Blackwell Files, hashtag Poison No More, hashtag Justice Served. The world had witnessed the unmasking of a corrupt dynasty. Yet as cameras panned the euphoric crowd, Sophia felt a chill. Victor's smirk lingered in her mind, a reminder that even the most damning evidence could be met with violence. The final leak had delivered truth to millions, but the war for justice was not yet over. That evening, the afterglow of Freedom Day's triumph soured as Sophia returned to her apartment. A single envelope lay on her entryway table. No return address. Inside, a black card embossed with gold letters simply read, "Stop now or blood will spill. VB." Beneath it, a photograph. Sophia and Claudia at Liberty Plaza, their faces illuminated by the victory screens. Her phone buzzed simultaneously, an unknown number. "Last chance. Walk away." Sophia's chest tightened. She dialed Claudia. Victor's made his move. Moments later, Claudia arrived, her usual composure edged with steel. "He's desperate," she said, handing over a file. Satellite images showing Victor's private security forces mobilizing at the Blackwell estate. Detective Olusegun arrived, badge and weapon ready. "He's preparing for a strike. Dozens of operatives, all heavily armed." Sophia exhaled. "He underestimates us." She tapped her phone to summon Alice's emergency server mirror. If anything happened to them, the last leak would automatically broadcast to every major outlet. Victor's ultimatum had shifted the battle from courtrooms and press to the realm of personal danger. Sophia packed a small bag, encrypted drives, emergency contacts, and a photograph of Claudia and herself, symbols of their unbreakable bond. As they exited through a hidden tunnel to a safe house, Olusegun scanned the quiet street. "He'll come for us if he can't break the story." Sophia's gaze hardened. "Then we'll be waiting." The night air crackled with tension. Victor's threats were not empty. The war for truth had become a war for survival, and Sophia was ready to face Victor's wrath head-on. Under a crescent moon, Sophia, Claudia, and Detective Olusegun stood before the gated entrance of Blackwell Manor. Alice's drone hovered overhead, its infrared cameras casting ghostly beams across manicured hedges. They had infiltrated Victor's private vault beneath the mansion, where the final ledger lay hidden. Laser grids crisscrossed the marble floor in the entryway. Olusegun deactivated motion sensors while Claudia input Victor's grandfathered biometric codes. Sophia's heartbeat drummed in her ears as they descended marble stairs into the vault. There, under a flickering fluorescent light, stood a single reinforced safe. Claudia placed a gloved hand on the keypad. "One wrong move and we're trapped." She cracked the combination with practiced ease. The safe door swung open, revealing a leather-bound ledger stamped with Blackwell Syndicate, Members and Transactions. Sophia lifted it reverently. This was the master document linking every corrupt player. A heavy footstep echoed. Victor emerged from the shadows, gun drawn, eyes cold. "Did you really think you'd win?" he sneered. Sophia stepped forward, clutching the ledger. "Truth wins." Victor's finger tightened on the trigger. In that heartbeat, Claudia stepped between them, arms outstretched. "Don't do this, brother," she pleaded. Her voice trembled but held power. Victor's finger wavered. Behind him, Olusegun leveled his weapon. Victor's shoulders slumped, tears welling. "You left me no choice," he whispered, dropping the gun. Sophia seized the moment, retrieving the firearm. Victor collapsed to his knees, remorse etched on his face. "It's over," Sophia said softly. Dawn's rose-gold light filtered through Sophia's kitchen as she brewed a pot of chamomile tea. Her chosen antidote to past betrayals. Claudia joined her, pouring honey into 2 porcelain cups. The chipped mug had been retired. Today they used fresh china. They sat by the window, watching the city awaken. News feeds flooded with the final revelations. Victor Blackwell turns himself in. Blackwell Files, Global Impact. Survivors celebrate justice. The world had seen the ledger's explosive contents. Sophia lifted her cup. "To truth," she toasted. Claudia raised hers. "To justice." They drank, warmth spreading through their veins. Outside, the street buzzed with life unshackled. Children chasing a football, neighbors greeting one another, survivors telling their stories openly. The poison that once corroded their lives had forged new bonds, of sisterhood, solidarity, and unwavering resolve. Sophia placed her cup on the counter, the honey drizzling in slow arcs. She traced the rim with her finger and whispered, "No more blood in my tea." Claudia smiled, resting her hand over Sophia's. As the sun climbed higher, they rose together, ready to rebuild, to heal, and to ensure that no legacy of corruption would ever again cast such dark shadows over their lives. The chapter and their journey closed not with bitterness, but with hope, proof that from the bitterest brew, the sweetest justice can blossom. The end.